If there's any deck I don't have much luck getting complete games with, it's this one. The Scarab God versus Golos Tireless Pilgrim. So hopefully our opponent will get off to a good start. We've got plenty of mana to set us off here. They do not get into a mana rock on turn 1, unfortunately. We will go in for that training ground though. That will make the activated ability of our commander cost 2 generic less to cast, which means that it will only cost Dimir to activate that. Don't normally go for the Scarab God activation though. Alright, pretty slow start for them. They're getting into a bounce land. Yeah, we don't want to windfall, do we? Let's just throw out the Dimir Signet. And if our opponent manages to keep a lot of cards in hand, which I think they're going to. Oh, Najeela. Yeah, that is a fast start from our opponent. Yeah, I think... Can we get everything out of our hand here? We might have to take a turn off of the windfall. Let's go Lightning Greaves into Skull Clamp into a tapped Watery Grave. And we're set up pretty nicely for windfall now. Hopefully our opponent doesn't play too many cards here. Yes, they've still got 5 cards in hand. Oh, 2 Najeelas in play. Yeah, our opponent's doing really well so far. And they get double triggers just from 1 warrior swinging in, because they have 2 Najeelas in play. Now, that comes in tapped, so I'm going to assume that we're going to draw into a land off of the windfall. Let's have our opponent discard their hand. We'll discard ours, and we'll draw 5 cards each. We do get into lands. Let's go for Ideas Unbound and see if we can get into some reanimation. We draw 3 cards but have to discard 3 at the end of the turn. Well, if we do get into reanimation, then Jin-Gitaxias should do us some good. Now then, what do we want to discard here? Definitely the Jin-Gitaxias. I think we can get rid of Flooded Strand. And we'll just have to hope that we draw into another swamp, because Cabal Coffers isn't too good with... Yeah, we need at least 4 swamps to make that decent, don't we? But it's not so bad with an Ancient Tomb and Cabal Coffers in play. Tapping down 2 lands for 3 black actually isn't terrible, so yeah, let's get rid of the swamp. And see how much damage our opponent can do to us with all these warrior tokens. They might actually take us out of the game here, because Najeela... Each Najeela will trigger twice off of each warrior that's swinging in. Yeah, let's see if our opponent can knock us out here. Playing Golos and going in for Gaia's Cradle, which will tap for a hell of a lot of mana next turn. Yeah, that is 8 triggers on Najeela. So how much damage is that? That's 10, 14, 15, 16, 17. So we really need to rip into a board wipe here. Entomb does nothing, so let's just evoke the Muldrifter and see if we can get into anything off of that. Living Death, we're a mana away from Living Death, how annoying. Yeah, well, our opponent's got us by the looks of it. If we could get into Living Death, I think we claw this game back. Although our opponent does have a Locust God and a Samut in the graveyard, so not necessarily. Yeah, we will just play out the Cabal Coffers, tap out for Mesmeric Orb, and hopefully that shows our opponent that we've got a whole heap of nothing. Makes a nice change of pace to get a fast game going with the Scarab God, but it actually being our opponent that draws the game to a close really quickly. It's usually us that brings things to a close as quickly as this, and look at all those Najeela triggers. Yeah, so if you ever wondered what happens when you get 2 Najeelas into play, then this is exactly it. Say good game to our opponent. And they knock us down to -22. Let's see if we can find out how close we were to a board wipe. Yeah, actually weren't very close at all, were we? Yeah, getting off that Living Death would have helped us there, but we were just 1 mana short, and that was enough for our opponent to knock us out of the game. Anyway, that was quite a quick one, so we'll get another one going. Okay, just jumped in the lobby and hit play, and we're up against the same opponent again. Still running the Scarab God, and our opponent's still running Golos Tireless Pilgrim. That is a risky keep, but I know full well that if I mulligan that, I'm not going to get into any lands, because that's what happens on Magic Online all the time for some reason. Well, anyway, we will get down a tap land and pass over to our opponent, going for Fellwar Stone next turn, and then probably into a couple of cards with Muldrifter. We do have some reanimation in hand at least this time, but we're going to lose a lot of life with Phyrexian Delver. Corpse Connoisseur could put Grizzlebrand into the bin. But anyway, we're going for our Mana Rock this turn. And again, our opponent's gone for the bounce land on turn 2. This is playing out very similarly to the last game that we played. Well, at least we're hitting our lands. There's an Underground Sea and a Conqueror's Flail from our opponent. Gets +1/+1 for each colour amongst permanents you control. They're obviously in a 5-colour deck. As long as it's attached to a creature, your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. Yeah, that's a really good clause on that, actually. Like a Grand Abolisher type effect, and I always forget about this card. That is really a good effect to try and remember. Yeah, we're just going in for the Evoke on Muldrifter. We draw 2 cards, get into Mana Drain and Thirst for Knowledge. Yeah, don't mind having Mana Drain. So we'll just pass. Might be Corpse Connoisseur next turn. And then we can contemplate going for Phyrexian Delver, but really want to Mana Drain our opponent's Golos if we get the chance. Definitely with an Azusa in play. And they get down all 3 lands for the turn. And they do have a Field of the Dead now as well. Which is only a couple of lands away from being active. So let's just play the Swamp. And we've got Thirst for Knowledge and Mana Drain held up. Oh, but there's the Conqueror's Flail, isn't there? Yeah, I forgot about that. So we can't cast spells during our opponent's turn. Alright, let's draw some cards with Thirst for Knowledge. Alright, we've got a Wander and some mana. We'll just discard 2 cards here. We'll get rid of our Eldrazi, and then again, a mana away from getting down the Worn Power Stone. Yeah, we'll just have to leave it like that. Unfortunately, can't make use of that Mana Drain. Our opponent grabs themselves their Golos Tireless Pilgrim. Conqueror's Flail really hurting us here. And they've gone in for another bounce land, and then replaying the land they bounced. Just one away from that Field of the Dead going off. A Bloodghast for us, that is just for sack fodder. I think we just have to try and be quick here and go in for Phyrexian Delver. And it's time to see if our opponent has any spot removal. We will go for It That Betrays. Won't have haste, unfortunately. We lose a lot of life for that, but hopefully it will pay off for us. Because our opponent will be in a tricky spot if we swing in with that, with the Annihilator 2. I imagine they'll just sacrifice Azusa and Golos, and that will make sure that the Conqueror's Flail isn't active. Oh, and now Prophet of Kruphix from our opponent. This is a solid deck that our opponent's got. Exactly my type of deck. They're going to untap during our turn. We get into a land, so let's play that immediately. And then let's attempt to swing in at our opponent. We do have a Mana Drain, which we can cast during our turn. An Arena Rector. Yeah, I think that is worth a Mana Drain, because then we don't have to worry about swinging in and giving our opponent a Planeswalker. Or do they have counter magic of their own? Oh, Cyclonic Rift, that hurts. Yeah, solid deck our opponent's made. At least we can make use of the mana from the Arena Rector, but it's not enough to recast It That Betrays. So we'll just get the mana from Mana Drain, that's 4 colourless. And we'll go with Lord of the Void. Should be able to steal some stuff from our opponent there. And it just seems to be a running theme with these 2 games. We're a mana away from doing things all the time. I'd like to get down the Worn Power Stone here, but Not going to be able to, unfortunately. I think our opponent's going to have us here. They're normally very decisive games that I play with the Scarab God, but our opponent has made a very good Golos deck here. Let's see what cards they got there. Oh, a Primeval Bounty, that's good. And I don't know if they've made a land. They haven't, so they go for Maze of Ith. Gain a couple of life with Primeval Bounty. And Minamo will be gone forever. But the Field of the Dead is now active. Oh, and they've got multiple land drops a turn. I forgot about Azusa. So they will in fact be able to play Minamo. That gets them into a couple of zombies because Field of the Dead is now active. Oh, and another bounce land just means that they continue to get landfall. Yeah, I can't see us getting ourselves out of this one. At least they're not going to swing in at us. We know one of the cards in their hand is a land. What the other two are is anyone's guess. Okay, a Noosgraf mob gets tokens into play at least. And they're going to cast something on our turn again. A Samut, Voice of Dissent. Yeah, I don't see what we're going to do here. Getting into that Maze of Ith is actually relevant now because we can't get through with Lord of the Void. Let's just get down this Noosgraf mob and hope that we can get enough tokens into play to stem the bleeding. But I really don't think we're going to get ourselves out of this one. Let's just see if our opponent forgets about the Maze of Ith. Sometimes players do, but this player does not. So they untap our Lord of the Void. And it's noteworthy, they've got Deserted Temple as well, so they could actually untap Maze of Ith and stop a couple of creatures from swinging in. And like we've seen so many times on this channel, a player is going to ride Field of the Dead to victory. Very, very good card, Field of the Dead. And it took quite a while for people to stop sleeping on it. I'm not saying my opponent didn't know that Field of the Dead was good immediately. And the Dragon coming down as well. And that will have haste, so if we're going to go out, we're going to go out with a bang here. Twice in a row our opponent's beaten us with Golos. And I think it was really the Conqueror's Flail that hurt us the most here. I don't know if we would have ended up winning had the Conqueror's Flail not have come down, because it would have only really been a mana drain on Golos and they could have got it out next turn potentially, but it certainly did hurt us. Swinging in with everything because they have haste. Let's see what the Dragon can put into play. They got a Freyalise, Lanoir's Fury. This is Golos, Wooburg, good stuff. Okay, I don't know if we can survive here. Let's block the Samut. The Dragon, our opponent's Golos, and a Beast, and then we'll work out if we can actually survive this. That is 8 damage there, 11 damage, 13 and 14. I think we're just going to survive. There might be some trample in play that I'm not seeing. Soon find out. And our opponent used Maze of Ith to remove something from play there. Oh, they stopped us from blocking the Samut with the Noosgraf mob. And blowing up our Felwar Stone with the Freyalise. We are desperate for a board wipe now. Our opponents emptied their hand at least, putting the Conqueror's Flail onto Samut. Yeah, Force of Will is not going to do anything. So let's finally get out our Warm Power Stone. And we will play our Bloodghast as well. And then it's a case of tapping out and allowing our opponent to swing in for the victory. Very, very impressive deck our opponent's made here. We'll say good game to them. They are very respectfully going in for attacks immediately. Although they might not have anything to cast anyway. They'll draw with Dragon. See if they want to play anything with the Dragon. They get the new All-Round Frostfang into play. I've put that in the Jired deck. So they'll draw a card off the Dragon hitting us, but they'll win the game first. Yeah, so like I said, a very impressive 2 games from my opponent. A very good deck they've made here. Haven't played much Golos in 1 versus 1. But as you can see, lands matter variants of Golos with things like Field of the Dead, Deserted Temple, Maze of Ith. Yeah, they're very powerful effects, and our opponent got a hell of a lot going in a very short space of time there. Although it is turn 9, I suppose, so it's not that short a space of time, but very impressive nonetheless. We did not get into board wipes, and Modo is not going to show me how close we were to one, so we'll just have to assume that we were nowhere near a board wipe. So it's good game twice to my opponent, and it's good to suffer some fast losses with the Scarab God for once instead of dishing them out. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.